Hey everybody, Ethan and Hex here, ready for the next video in this course. We've been working on fetch leading up to this specific session. We've introduced the cue. We've been working on some reps with that. And now what we're going to be doing here is moving that toward the table. Everything so far has been working at this range, which is easy for him because it's head height. It's also part of why the table is beneficial. It keeps all of this action right here, where we're not having to bend over. We talked about that in some of the beginning videos, but what we're going to be doing today is helping him to do a little more working, put in a little more effort, and actually move toward the table. It's strange, but you will see that every single step of this process seems like you're almost having to teach something completely new. And I think it's part of why it can be so frustrating for people to work through. But at the same time, when you get done with it, it's so empowering and it's very good for the relationship that you have between you and your dog. You figure out better how to work together, as well as they really start to understand how to work with what you're asking them to do. So what we're going to be moving into here is more fetch work. We're using the same object. We still have the tow hitch. We're going to be working toward the table. Now, I cannot stress enough, please set up your weekly calls. The link is at the bottom of this lesson. They're short. You don't have to plan for a lot of time, just like all of these sessions, but you do need to plan to do it. Once a week is the best recipe for success. All right, so quick warm up here. Fetch, good boy. Fetch, good boy. As you work through this, we've been applying really light pressure to begin with. Your dog is going to be an individual, and each one is going to require different levels of pressure. Some dogs are a little tougher. Some dogs are really wimpy, that this super light pressure will be almost too much. And then there are other dogs that you're going to have to put a little bit more pressure on, but they're usually going to coincide with, if you know, on average, like I say, DT collars or your e-collar system, you're 50% or higher with any of the collar conditioning stuff that you've done. You have a dog that's less sensitive. So you're going to have to use a little bit more pressure. He kind of falls into that category, so we'll use a little bit more. But again, it needs to be enough to pull their focus, to get them to be able to pay attention to it and respond. But we're showing here that he knows how to shut this off by fetching. So just like with collar conditioning, if we ignore those low levels, we can turn it up just a little bit to get their attention. So, good boy. Do a few more reps. Fetch. Good. I'm applying just a little bit more pressure than what I have in the past. It still can be done here with just a few fingers. Trust me, folks, if you start to really pull on this, it's going to hurt your hand long before that it really affects some of these tougher dogs. So if you're within what you can do, what I would caution you not to do is try and find an easier way out, like wrapping it on something to pull against. That's going to allow you to move into the category of applying too much pressure too easily. Keep it wrapped on your own fingers. That's a good rule of thumb for you're probably applying too much if you yourself can't handle it. Fetch. Fetch. Good. You see a little bit of pullback from him. Now, we're going to be working towards the table. Like I said, we did a few warm-up reps, and what working towards the table means, we need this workspace here. Some dogs are going to crowd more than others. You may need to actually move your eyelet back further. We found that this works pretty well, but keep it off of the direct corner. There's actually a hole right here, which is where I had it initially set and learned myself, not beneficial. All you're doing with working toward the table is starting fetch. Good. To move it toward the table. Slowly. Fetch. Right here. Fetch. That's a great example of him having to go look for it. He kind of came to this general area and then went, oh, there's nothing to fetch. And then had to, oh, there it is. And that's what we're looking for. He understands what we're asking. Here. Fetch. Fetch. No. Pressure's still there. And what happened was he tried to kind of grab it and then didn't. And this is one of those zones that we've got a little bit of freezing. And I want you to see my pressure changed. Good. Fantastic. Okay. We have to talk about this. It's going to slow our progress, but we will work back up building momentum wise. This is huge. When I started applying pressure, he went to grab it. He didn't commit. I didn't feed it to him. And then he kind of left it, pulled his head up, stood there and freeze. He was frozen. I don't know what you're asking. What you want to do, what most people want to do, normal people want to do, is apply more pressure. Pros and amateurs alike. Well, you were doing it. Now you're refusing. Let's apply more pressure. It's not the answer. Sometimes it can be helpful. It is not the answer most of the time. What I did was actually slowed those tugs, all right, which gives him more time to think in between. And what did he do? Grabbed it, okay? I also made it slightly easier by bringing it up just a little bit. That's okay. We want to be gradually working toward the table. It doesn't happen in 2 reps. It happens over time. Let's get him started. Fetch. Notice I'm starting up higher again every time we're rebuilding momentum. Fetch. But we're moving faster down to back where we were. Each rep, I reset him. Good. Fetch. No. Fetch. Come on. Come on. Come on. Come on. A little bit encouraging, a little bit of movement here. Fetch. Kind of brought it back up into his zone, his peripheral, and then pulled it away as he was reaching for it. Good boy. Fetch. Good boy. Moving right back into the next rep, helping to build momentum. Fetch. Right here. No. Fetch. Excellent. Here. Good boy. That, folks, I believe will be, okay, the perfect place to stop in this session. You saw really good progress, okay? You may not think that it's progress. Hopefully you think that it's progress. We saw some big things. He was fetching. He's moving toward the table. He gave us some resistance. We were able to find different ways to apply pressure to communicate to him what we're looking for. You aren't getting out of this. I did minor movements. It's always easy to overhelp. We want to try and not overhelp. So that little bit of movement this way didn't bring it closer to him. It just gave him something else to kind of see and pull focus back to. And we ultimately got fetches that were basically almost off the table, not quite. We cannot get greedy in this process. And it's obvious that we're close, but we need to do a few more sessions. They're going to look just like this, short, sweet, working down to the table here so that we can be fetching things there and then move on to multiple objects. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next video.